Welcome to A Sister and Her Mister, a podcast where we show you the real behind the scenes of how we balance the PCOS lifestyle in our marriage, gluten and dairy free. I'm Taline, your fellow sister and registered dietitian.
And I'm Sirak, husband, engineer, and PCOS personal trainer. We're going to make PCOS a little less overwhelming and a lot more fun.
Sister and Her Mister.
A lot of filming today, isn't it? I feel like Tom Cruise up in here.
Tom Cruise. Honestly, now that we are stuck at home because of self-quarantining, we are trying to do a whole bunch of content creation.
Yeah, trying to see what sisters want, and we're trying to do exactly that. We
have all this time to brainstorm.
Yeah, today I made videos on for the sisterhood on how to foam roll. I made another one for posture. Telling you did an amazing Q&A.
I did a Q&A, and now we're recording a podcast, and we're going to do some TikTok videos, which are turning out to be so funny.
Oh yeah, we hope you're liking the TikTok videos.
I watch them over and over again, and they're my own, ours. They're how pathetic.
I know, I act like I'm watching somebody else's.
I'm acting like it's something new each time I watch it again.
Yeah, if you don't know, go to TikTok, PCOS.weight.loss. You'll find us, and just some funny TikToks between me and Tanya, our personal daily routines and stuff we're doing. It's just to give you a different glimpse of our life.
Yeah.
But we just did an IG live, literally 30 minutes before this. Yeah, we did an IG live to kind of talk about different stuff, answer some questions. We're doing some giveaways. We hope you're following that. I think this whole week we gave away different self-care stuff.
Yes, all about self-care and taking care of yourself while you're stuck at home, and just taking this time to work on PCOS, losing weight, feeling good, your skin, your hair.
The most important thing. This is the time when we're all stuck at home to really work on yourself. You don't want to be, just Netflix and chilling. That's okay. You can still do that, but make sure
you're rolling your face with a jade roller at the same time. Yeah.
Or you did something during the day so that now you deserve the Netflix and chill however long you want. So it's just
it's true.
Kind of it's a reward system kind of a thing. You feel better about yourself.
You're so disciplined, honestly. If it wasn't for you and your self-discipline, I feel like at this point of self-quarantining, after however many weeks it's been, I would have fallen apart.
It's funny you say that, because at nights you're like, come to bed, and I'm just like, no, I need to hang upside down. I need to
on his inversion table.
Yeah, I need to
stretch on his foam
stretch it
thing.
I
can barely
floss.
get myself to do a jade roller.
Yeah.
I'm just done.
Make me want to sacrifice one or two just to come into bed sooner.
He feels bad. I mean, no, but yeah, it's great to be with someone who has this much self-discipline.
You do too. You're jade rolling, pretty much putting your jade roller in the fridge like a weirdo. I see next to the beef. Oh, look at jade roller. Just at least you have the decency to put it on a paper towel, but
Hey, I try. I'm also doing macrame, like an old lady. Just kidding. It's not an old lady. It's gorgeous.
Hippie version of knitting, I would say. A hippie knitting kind of thing.
I love it. It's so beautiful.
It's on the wall right next to us in the living room. It's cool. It actually doesn't look bad at all. It's cool. I'm sure as you do more, it's going to look like a really cool design too.
It's just that I feel low in energy by the end of the day because I've been in the same room and I haven't been stimulated, and I've just created and worked.
That's the problem.
That is the problem. So we have to we're going to work out tonight.
Yeah.
Of course, Sirak is the discipline champion over
here.
God
that is a
workout.
Yeah, of course. But that's the problem. It's even if you're being super productive, you're still stuck inside. Unfortunately, we don't have a house. We don't have a backyard and a front yard, so we could do things outside. We have basically an apartment, so we're stuck in an area, or a condo, so we can't really go out and just do it outside, or it'll be on the street. Yeah. So hopefully you live in a house where you have a backyard, so at least you can do some of your daily activities in the backyard and enjoy the outside weather.
Yeah. We've been going on short walks, but usually after we record podcasts, we go to dinner afterwards, and I look forward to it.
But not no more.
Or we go to dinner before the podcast, but not anymore.
Yesterday, it's so funny. Okay, before we go on with the podcast and finish this area, but yesterday we're okay, let's go. We drove to basically to the pier, And at first we were gonna go outside and walk and just enjoy it, but they were like, man, this is way too cold. It was cold and too many people around. You know, like,
yeah,
it's even if you're doing 6 feet, whatever distancing, social distancing that we all should be doing. It's just like there's so many people around. I just don't want. We didn't want to do it, so we parked the car kind of illegally, and to like basically face the pier with the sun, and we just like sat inside, and we even had like a minor like meeting just like of the
we had our laptops and stuff.
Yeah, we had our laptops and talked about some stuff.
A different location than the kitchen table.
Exactly. And like it was a different thing. I don't know, we enjoyed it.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, so try to like find
a solution, people.
Yeah, just don't be outside.
Spiral out of
don't be in danger and like go near too many people, but try to find a way to at least go outside, enjoy the sun, and go back inside.
We're also
all in the name
running
of
out
safe.
of sorry to interrupt you, but we're also running out of vegetables, and I'm really excited to finally go to the grocery store again because I've been trying not to go.
And snacks.
What has happened? Snacks.
I am having issues at nights.
We don't have chips. Like
we got chips. They obviously ran out. We haven't gone back in such a long time.
Yeah.
The Beanfields chips, by the way.
And now I realize it's not that we ate them a lot. It's just that like a little bit with your dinner to like add a touch to it, or like a cookie.
We haven't gone.
Like nothing.
When's that time we went, babe? I think it was 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks.
When the whole shebang started to go around.
We have plenty of meat and canned beans.
Yeah, we have the basics. We don't have
vegetables. We don't have snacks. We're running out of dairy.
But a girl needs her chips. Like you need something. You need something to add a little bit of sprinkle. You can't just eat a cupcake, ladies. You need a little bit of sparkle.
A cupcake is sparkle. I would kill for a cupcake right now. Words
Rainbow
can't
sprinkles?
even describe. Sprinkles?
Yeah, the colorful sprinkles. What are they called?
Yeah, sprinkles.
Yeah.
Wait.
You need the sprinkles on top.
Oh.
Anyways, we hope we didn't make you want to just go outside and get a bunch of snacks, but
Yeah, we're not trying to say live off of snacks while you're stuck quarantine. It's
but you need fun.
Sometimes you need something
different. We're all trying to live like a very healthy life, and we're trying to make sure we limit anything. But you need like some bean chips here or there. You need some guac and chips. You need things.
Guac. The avocados aren't even good. The world is truly coming to an end.
Yeah, all of this in moderation at the right times. It really helps you like get through nights when you're watching TV and stuff. It makes you happier. So we all need that. That's why we never say restrict your calories or get everything out that's fun. No,
exactly.
You still can have fun. It's just about being smart, implementing it the correct way, which is the perfect. I didn't even plan this. This is the perfect transition to today's episode. So today's episode is all about gluten. Is it a fad? Is it necessary? We talk about the different research that's been done out there and what people are saying and what actually the real science shows us and why it's not being implemented correctly for some people and how you can do that.
I did a bit of investigation after we found the study on potential drawbacks of going gluten-free. Mm-hmm. And, I looked into what those drawbacks were. We'll go over them, and I have my alternatives. We have our suggestions to prevent these drawbacks that we'll be going over. Yeah. So between 2004 and 2011, the market for gluten-free products grew at an annual rate of 28%. That's pretty drastic. And I actually remember that in 2010, I went gluten and I was starting to go gluten and dairy-free. Mm-hmm. And I was working at a gluten and dairy-free grocery store. And this was before like Whole Foods boomed with their gluten and dairy-free products. And their like gorgeous gluten and dairy-free aisle that they have now. And I worked at a store that only sold gluten and dairy-free foods, and this is because it just boomed. I totally felt that annual rate of 28% growth for gluten-free products.
And I would actually say, I think at some point for some companies, it was like more like a fad thing where they were just trying to say, oh, try this thing as a gluten-free. It was still cookies. It was still something that's high in sugar, but they were trying to trick people by saying gluten-free to make them think that it's healthy.
Yeah, and I would tell people that I was going gluten-free, and one girl said, oh, gluten-free, so 0 calories.
Oh my
And
goodness.
that's how I was like, oh my God.
That's one of the fallacies. Yeah, that's not what you should be eating. Nothing you should eat should be 0 calories unless it's like a celery or something that basically has 0 calories, like one of those greens, you know.
It's not, but they were marketing it like that, and
Yeah.
it was causing the gluten-free diet to sound like it was a fad, when in fact so many people would come into that grocery store called the Bite Market that I used to work at. And it's closed now because obviously there are so many major companies doing gluten and dairy free, like Whole Foods. But so many people would come in and share their story with me about how their health and life completely reversed after going gluten and dairy free. And at that time, everyone was like, it's a fad, it's a fad. And I was like literally in the thick of it, the cashier at that grocery store, talking to all of the customers and like learning about their journey. And it was incredible.
That must have been very enlightening. You know, you learned a lot.
Yeah,
From that time, I bet.
I did. It was a very major experience, and no one can convince me that gluten-free is a fad.
Yeah. So I'll let you, Talion, kind of like talk about this one right here. Okay. So one of the things that people say is that, and some of the things that like one study that we found, it said one of the potential drawbacks of going gluten-free, people end up eating more processed grain products when gluten-free, like breads, cereals, cookies, crackers, which are lower in fiber, iron, zinc, potassium, iron, and trace minerals. So this was the statement. Talion, would you like to state
my statement?
Yes, you're on the oath.
Okay. Well, okay, it makes sense. Like if somebody swapped their gluten products for bread, cereals, cookies, and crackers, yeah, it's going to be low in fiber and all kinds of nutrients because it's bread, cereals, cookies, and crackers. So,
and I would say, wouldn't you say whoever already bases their diet on breads, cereals, cookies, and crackers probably and does probably have a bad, nutritional deficiency. They're probably unhealthy because if you're basing your diet on breads, cereals, cookies,
whether they're
and
gluten
crackers,
or gluten-free,
you're gonna have problems.
You're gonna have lower fiber intake, iron, zinc, potassium.
So this is already, in my opinion, like a weak argument.
It really
with
is.
This because you're using something that's already not good for you and saying, oh, the gluten-free option is like this. Well, it's not good for you anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you, babe. Why don't you continue?
We're complaining about not having cookies, chips, and snacks in our house. But seriously, you need a bite of a chip sometimes.
Yeah, of course. Like we said, that's okay, but it's okay to have a gluten-free, chips, bean chips or whatever. We're not saying don't do that. It's just like you don't base your diet on that. It's not something you say, oh, did I have enough of that today? No, it's something you say, oh, let me have a little bit today of that. Let me have some tomorrow. It's all it is.
So I urge you to replace gluten-free foods with nutrient-dense alternatives. So that includes grains like quinoa, buckwheat, millet, sorghum, things like that. Almond flour is a great alternative to bake with. Depending on what you're if you like baking, there's different flours that you can use with different nutritional values than regular flour. Like you can use buckwheat flour, tapioca flour, almond flour, cassava root flour. And because there are so many different flours, there's a variety of nutrients you can get from each of those different types of flours if you learn how to use them in your kitchen, rather than always reaching for all-purpose flour, which can, be enriched with nutrients. But it's like we're so used to that as a staple that we forget, or we don't even know that there are other things that you can use to cook with.
Like a great example you had was quinoa versus regular pasta. It was saying in the study how gluten-free options, they have less, of these nutrients and, Ty, why don't you just talk about how quinoa versus regular pasta, like how that's actually not the case with that?
Yeah. So like you said, right, they're complaining that gluten-free alternatives don't have these nutrients, but quinoa, when you compare it to pasta, it has the same amount of carbs, it has the same amount of protein, it has the same amount of calories, and it even has more fiber than regular pasta. I see no deficiency over here.
I mean, I think it says 5 grams of fiber for quinoa whereas regular pasta has 2.5 grams. Right there, the fiber level is double for quinoa. So it goes to show you
great for blood sugar.
A gluten-free option is actually better. Yeah, great for blood sugar. And it's even like when you look at the ratios, it's higher in protein and fiber compared to the carbs versus a regular pasta.
Yeah.
So your macro levels, your ratios are much better than eating regular pasta.
And when you know this information, you can choose products that contain quinoa. So there's crackers, like Mary's Crackers, I think, that has quinoa and flaxseed in it. And it's like a nutrient dense cracker that you can choose wisely, because now you know that going gluten-free, you don't have to get rice crackers. Like, you should get something a little more nutrient dense, and then boom, this study completely is not valid for you. So don't be misled by my point and the whole point of this podcast. Don't be misled by the information out there. Really investigate how you're going to make this work for you. And quinoa is a great example. And it also has more iron than regular pasta. It has 2.76 milligrams of iron.
Which is almost 5 times the amount of iron in pasta.
Which is 0.6 milligrams.
And 118 milligrams of magnesium in quinoa versus pasta, which has 10 milligrams.
And that's great for your hormones.
10 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important, magnesium.
Makes you feel good, makes your muscles relax.
Yeah. So again, right there, as we mentioned, basically the whole that idea that gluten-free options have less nutrients or processed, all that jazz, it's not true when you're actually picking the right food. You're actually eating healthy food, the proper lifestyle change.
Right.
You're not eating crackers and cookies. Like we said, that's not what you should be basing your diet on.
Exactly. The base of your diet should be a variety of healthy gluten-free grains, like I mentioned, quinoa, buckwheat, millet. There's plenty of others. There's rice, that's not bad. There's corn. These are all carbs that you can use as alternatives.
And quinoa contains all the 9 essential amino acids. So it makes it a complete protein, which pasta doesn't have. Exactly. Amino acids is what repairs and creates new cells and more cells and repairs your body. So you need those amino acids. So quinoa is a good option.
It's a great option.
Think
great for blood sugar.
Isn't quinoa natural?
It's just a grain.
It's a natural grain. Where's pasta? You kind of have to make it yourself.
You have to process it.
It's a processed thing.
That's true.
Yeah.
And it's fortified. It's not naturally that nutritious.
See, there you go.
So the second point.
Yeah.
Going gluten-free increases the risk for vitamin B deficiencies because whole wheat has B vitamins in it that you would miss out on, according to the study.
Yeah.
Listen.
Not necessarily. Yeah.
Well, okay. So whole wheat does contain B vitamins and it contains nutrients, but that's not to say if you swapped whole wheat with gluten-free versions of carbs that you wouldn't get your B vitamins. For example, buckwheat has a plethora of B vitamins in it, and it has inositols in it. So you're taking Ovasitol, the natural version of Ovasitol, buckwheat. Yeah. I'm not saying replace it, but I'm just saying there is inositol in buckwheat.
Yeah, and actually gluten contains phytates, which is an anti-nutrient that can block mineral absorption. So gluten in itself contains something that actually prohibits your body from
if you're
absorbing.
Sensitive to, if you have celiac disease and if you're sensitive to gluten, then it inhibits your ability to absorb nutrients, including vitamin B12. Yeah. And gluten-containing foods are notoriously low in vitamins and minerals compared to other gluten-free grains. If you think of it that way, of course there's gluten-free. Well, yeah, I said gluten-free grains, so technically quinoa or something has a bunch of vitamins in it. Sorry, I was thinking of corn, which is not as nutritious as a gluten-free grain.
Yeah, but whole foods like spinach and almonds come loaded with naturally occurring nutrients, whereas breads, pastas, and other processed gluten-containing foods contain small amounts of cheap fortified nutrients.
Right.
So we always
encourage you to replace
whole foods.
with whole foods, with the grains, with the healthy fats, almonds, lots of vegetables, and you can totally substitute all of those nutrients that you might be missing from whole wheat, with a healthy balanced diet. You're not going to become deficient in anything.
Like Talian said, like buckwheat is a great option. It's high in inositol. It's which is the B vitamin. It's great for insulin. So one serving has more protein quality than pasta, and it's been shown to benefit blood sugar, heart health, inflammation, like cancer prevention, because of the fiber and plant compounds. So you're getting so much more benefit versus like whole wheat, like the vitamins or nutrients you would get from that. Especially if it contains gluten, which is even adding more to the fire with the inflammation and causing the symptoms of PCOS that's causing weight gain, weight plateau, adrenal fatigue, insulin resistance, all these symptoms of PCOS that can be linked to it.
Yeah, they can be linked, and you wouldn't know unless you cut it out for at least 4 weeks to figure out how you feel after cutting it out and adding it back in.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't think it's a fad. Because for some people, it's so beneficial. And you can't partially do it. Like, you can't kind of be gluten-free and like eat light on the gluten, but still eat it and then say it didn't work. Like, you have to go all in for a month to really see if it's going to make a difference.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean you have to just do it and like do it and do that best at once. Slowly incorporate it. We always say try it one day at a time, where like I said in the past, maybe you're going to first start with your breads. Okay, starting now, I'm only going to have gluten-free bread. And then, like, meaning your breads are only gluten-free. And then maybe another day you're saying, okay, no more pasta that has gluten. I'm going to replace that with gluten-free pasta, like buckwheat pasta. And then you add on more stuff. And then eventually you're at a point where like you're completely gluten-free. Like Talian, it took her almost a year to fully adapt, to fully incorporate the diet along with other lifestyle changes. And at that point, everything started to like transform.
And for those of you who haven't tried buckwheat noodles, it is like the only thing on the shelves in the pasta section of Whole Foods.
It's the best part.
And nobody understands how wonderful it is. I can't even believe that, like, because it's not something that people are familiar with. You can make soups with it. You can cut up some cucumbers and marinate them in like soy sauce and white rice vinegar and make like this great like cilantro like noodle
there you go,
cold side salad thing. It's just, it's so versatile and delicious. And it's so good. It has this nutty flavor. Okay, I'm done.
That's enough. That's enough about buckwheat.
This is not a podcast episode of buckwheat.
I haven't heard this much about like In-N-Out or something. All right.
Okay, I just wanted to say that because a lot of people don't know what buckwheat is.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the third thing?
All right. The third thing that we found was
in the study.
Gluten-free doesn't help weight loss.
I can't. I just can't.
Now, before we go into the anecdotal evidence that we have from, if you follow Talian, PCOS.weight loss, you've seen all the transformations, people who completely managed their symptoms and they were able to lose weight with PCOS.
After not losing a single pound their whole life.
Yeah, their whole life, they were trying to lose weight. And unfortunately, no matter what they did, it just didn't help because they had all this inflammation that was causing these issues that led to weight plateau and gain. So you can see those testimonials. But before we get into those or talk about those, let's talk about it. It says gluten-free doesn't help weight loss. Well, Talian, you start.
Leptin. Okay, people. Leptin is a hormone that tells us whether we're hungry or we're full. And when we eat gluten, it makes our leptin hormone weaker and causes leptin resistance in our bodies. And that makes us not able to gauge how much we should be eating. And you may feel like you want to eat all the time. And I do a lot of polls about this on Instagram story. And a lot of people are like, yes, that's me. I feel like I want to eat all the time. I'm hungry all the time. That could be because you have leptin resistance. And I even had a patient who had she had a very severe case of PCOS and she was highly sensitive to gluten and dairy, and she was cutting out her carbs and exercising a lot and, eating salad all day and like gluten and dairy here and there. And then when she went gluten and dairy free, and ate 2,000 calories.
Yeah.
She lost so much weight. And she's like,
amazing, isn't it?
I feel so good. I'm not hungry all the time. I don't eat more than I have to. Like, I just feel satisfied after my meals for once in my life. Although she was restricting before then, she was binge eating, and she was like still hungry after binge eating.
Yeah.
It was this whole roller coaster that she targeted by going gluten and dairy free and healing that underlying issue of leptin resistance and her body not having the proper hunger and fullness hormones.
Yeah.
And not just that, gluten has lectins, and lectins with a C, they bind to insulin receptors and they create insulin resistance and trigger leptin resistance. So what that means is when you have insulin resistance, your cells aren't able to burn what you're eating, and what you're eating ends up storing as fat because your cells are resistant to the insulin hormone that's trying to give them the food that you're eating.
Yeah.
So, my point, insulin resistance can lead to weight gain. And so gluten can trigger more, aggressive insulin resistance.
Yeah, it raises your blood sugar.
Leptin resistance. And also, most gluten-containing carbs can raise your blood sugar because they're not as high in fiber as gluten-free carbs.
And you know what that does?
Quinoa. And then insulin resistance.
Yeah, and then you store fat. Unfortunately, instead of losing weight, it does the opposite. You store fat.
Mm-hmm.
So also, great explanation, babe. I love it.
Thanks.
To continue on with your amazing explanation, I'll continue here. Gluten resembles your thyroid. So when your immune antibodies tag gluten for removal, they also trigger antibodies against your thyroid. In other words, you increase your chances for autoimmune disease when you constantly eat gluten. According to one study, people with the most common type of thyroid disease have 12 times the rate of gluten intolerance as the general population does. So, those struggling with their weight should consider a gluten-free diet along with the assessment of their thyroid status.
Mm-hmm. And thyroid issues are an underlying issue for PCOS. A lot of women have hypothyroidism and they have PCOS, that's their type of PCOS. And several doctors, in fact, the one that I refer to for my patients who have thyroid issues, tell their patients to go gluten and dairy free, specifically gluten free and dairy free.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say gluten and dairy free.
Well, yeah, it's not like about dairy.
But we're talking about gluten right now.
Yeah, this one's about gluten.
Because it can affect your immune system. It can affect your thyroid, your blood sugar, which also affects your thyroid. And like you mentioned, people with thyroid issues are 12 times higher to have gluten intolerances.
Yeah.
So, and with thyroid issues, it's so hard to lose weight. So why not try going gluten-free?
I mean, to me, based on that study and what we're reading here, if you have thyroid issues, it's even more reason maybe you should give it a try and see if it is the right thing for you, because it might be your body is really reacting to gluten in a negative way. So just try and see if for you if that works.
Right. So we went over everything in this study.
Yeah, those are the three things in the study that was pointing out about gluten and gluten-free.
As
and we
I
want
was
to
reading them, I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
This isn't true.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a whole podcast episode.
To be honest, that's the thing with a lot of studies, and why anybody has to be careful when they see a study is, even if it's a study that says gluten-free is great, look at that study and see what they're doing, because like in this case, they're saying that gluten-free is actually can be bad for these reasons, but they were using bad logic. As
right.
So if they're using
manipulative.
Technically they're right, because they're using bad logic. They're saying, oh yeah, if you eat gluten-free crackers and just pasta and that's all you eat,
you to do that?
Exactly. And which is why we're saying, like, look at the study first. If their logic is based on something that's not right, then the whole study doesn't really make sense. So
yeah, I mean, if you can flip and flop with the study, then these like bold statements don't make any sense and have no validity. Like they can kind of be right, but then they can totally be wrong.
They can be right based on what they're saying.
Clear,
yeah, exactly.
So we're here to clarify it. And I also did a poll on Instagram story because I wanted to see what our followers are doing.
Yeah.
Now, many of you may be new followers, so maybe you're not familiar with like how to go gluten and dairy free.
Mm-hmm.
But what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say a perfect study would have been Okay.
Oh, okay.
How is somebody with a gluten-free diet that is eating the right stuff, everything that we mentioned earlier, pairing the foods correctly, versus someone who's doing the same exact thing except it's with gluten?
Exactly.
You compare those two.
There you go.
And then we have a perfect study
That's a good
for
point.
women with PCOS, especially.
A controlled study.
Yes. And again, this is for women with PCOS. So it's really important that we do this one day. It's very important. This information's out there. And kumbaya. Let's go on to the sticker you were explaining.
My point. So I did this sticker and I wanted to see what our followers were doing, and many of our followers are probably new, so they probably voted a certain way because they're not familiar yet with how to transition to gluten and dairy free. But the question was, when you went gluten free, did you A, replace it with gluten free cookies, chips, crackers, or B, replace it with nutrient dense gluten free grains like quinoa? And the answer was 85 people said cookies, chips, crackers, and 130 people said healthy gluten-free grains like quinoa.
I think we did the number, it was like 35% to 65%. Yeah. 65% they said they ate the, grain-free or
nutrient-dense grains.
Nutrient-dense option.
And then
35% said the cookies and crackers. I wish that number was a little bit lower.
It was. But maybe the listeners are a different pool of people.
Of course, yeah.
And they're probably 100% eating nutrient-dense foods because you listen to us.
And unfortunately, a lot of times, we'll see messages that come in of sisters who are trying, and they say that they're not seeing results right away. And then once we talk to them and we investigate, we find out that they were actually eating too many cookies and too many crackers, or things that were saying that were gluten free, but in fact they were high, high sugar and processed foods. Exactly what we're talking about here. So those are maybe the people who are in that 35% range who didn't know exactly how to apply it correctly, which is totally fine, which is why we're here to help.
Yeah, and you might have really bad cravings, and maybe that's why you want to eat gluten and dairy-free crackers, cookies, and chips.
Yeah,
and
your body wants that sugar because you're probably limiting your carbs.
And we're not saying limit your carbs. We're saying eat gluten-free grains that are carbs, like buckwheat, quinoa, or millet, or what's it called? Sorghum. You can have rice, you can have corn. Like these are, and pair them with beans and protein and fat like avocado or hummus or whatever, so that you feel full and satisfied after your meal. Don't replace those carbs with gluten-free chips because we said go gluten-free. So that will really help accelerate and help your PCOS weight loss journey.
Yeah.
Should we move on to the win this week?
Yes. All right. Our win, it's a DM on Instagram, comes from, I won't read the full username for privacy, but her first name is Nore. And in November, she says, after doing some research, I went to my doctor to ask if I may have PCOS. I was suffering from anxiety and depression. My periods were highly irregular, and it was almost impossible for me to lose weight. After labs were done, the doctor confirmed that I had PCOS and gave me the simplest diet you can imagine. Nothing else. No explanation for my anxiety, depression, not much information of what happened to my body because of PCOS or anything. I was so confused and got even more depressed. A month ago, after following you for a while, I started eating gluten and dairy free. I've lost 9 pounds without exercising yet and feel better than ever.
Awesome.
Amazing, girl. Good job. She says, I subscribed onto the sisterhood and plan to start doing the workouts you share there. Also, I love you. You're so down to earth and clear with everything you say and fun. You guys make me laugh. I'm 28 years old. I was at 217 pounds and now I'm at 208. Congrats, girl.
Congrats, girl.
Such a good,
that's amazing
process and progress. Like, we're so happy for you. And
seriously, and 9 pounds is a big deal, especially when we have PCOS and you struggled so long to even be able to lose weight.
Because losing that just shows that 9 pounds, even especially with that exercise, shows that you're starting to reverse those symptoms that's causing the weight.
Yeah,
you're naturally healing your body, causing you to just naturally lose weight,
and you're feeling better, and that is so important.
Yeah, and that doctor, forget that doctor. He didn't help you enough. I hope
find someone more informed.
Exactly. We hope you're able to find someone more informed. And that's like the sad and like worst part is when you have a bad doctor puts you down. You don't feel as confident. You don't want to proceed with, you know, trying to solve your PCOS because you don't have enough information. Don't let that deter you. To anybody listening, if you just got diagnosed and the doctor or whoever, OBGYN, whoever it was, didn't give you enough information, don't let that deter you from finding it out.
Keep investigating.
Yeah.
You know, even
be the Sherlock Holmes of your PCOS.
I love it.
That's my new saying now.
You have a lot of sayings. You also have one about flying out of this quarantine like a butterfly from a cocoon.
Yes. I have a kumbaya. Let's not forget that one. It's just stuff out there. Yeah? Keeping it fun, keeping it chill.
A mystery.
Yeah, it's great. But
thank you so much, ladies.
Yeah, but really, it's quarantine time. This is the quarantine age. We're all going to get out of it together.
Yes.
We're going to come out of this strong, and we're going to look back at these days when we're talking to our great-great-great-grandchildren, because we'll be living forever with the technology out there. We'll be telling them, you didn't know the quarantine age.
When we were stuck at home working.
Yeah.
Anyway, gosh, it's not that bad. Okay,
so we're gonna go. Ladies. Yeah, we're gonna go work out right now. Do our home workout in the living room.
Eat dinner.
Macrowave. Play guitar and watch a show.
Yay!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the Kardashians are on tonight.
Oh my goodness.
Thanks, ladies.
Bye, everybody. Take care.
If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come check out the Cysterhood. It's my monthly membership site where sisters just like you are learning how to move through the stages of PCOS. From stage 1, cold and alone at the doctor's office, to stage 5, nailing the PCOS lifestyle, gluten and dairy free. Get ready to finally feel in control of your body again.